Hello everyone, this is RadTechShoe and welcome to another Rad review, and in this video we are going to be looking at Far Cry 5 for the PlayStation 4 by Ubisoft. We are going to be looking at another entry in the Far Cry series and my first time playing this any Far Cry game. I've never played any of the Far Cry games in the entire franchise. This is my first entry and I'm going to give you my opinion on what I thought, how I felt going through it, so let's get right into it. Okay, so I want to reiterate, this is my first time playing any Far Cry game ever. I never played anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, Primal, none of that. I've not touched any game. I've heard of them, and my friend who's a fan of the franchise convinced me to buy this game just because, you know, he says it would be a lot of fun and he thinks that I would enjoy it, and he was right. I did enjoy it, but we're going to get into the basic gist of the story. The story follows the exploits of you, a rookie deputy, you know, affectionately called Rook in some circumstances, but basically you're a deputy and you've been called in to a place called Hope County, Montana in the northwestern United States. There is a radical extremist religious cult that has taken over the entirety of Hope County, and it is your job to save the county and its peace-loving citizens from the denizens of this dangerous cult. And these guys are fucking batshit insane. And they are religiously motivated, they are passionate, and they believe that they are justified, just like pretty much any extremist. So there's nothing new there with that sense of extremism, as in they think that they are justified, and they think that the enemies, namely you, are the real bad guys, and they are righteous in their actions. So the basic storyline is pretty straightforward. Radical group, you gotta liberate the entire area from them, and there's 3 main areas. After the first initial cutscene where you try to arrest their leader, Joseph, it fails miserably, and then you're thrown into this open world exploration where you explore everything. There are 3 major territories, and each territory has its own respective leader that is pretty much a lieutenant of Joseph, and they are all of Joseph's family members. You have Joseph, who is the ringleader of the cult. Then you have his brother Jacob, his brother John, and his sister Faith. All 3 of them are in this cult, and you have to take out all 3 of them before you can finally confront Joseph back at the beginning of back on the main point where the game really starts. So essentially you're running around trying to stop this cult, and ultimately involves you slaughtering countless numbers of animals and other religious zealots who are also members of the cult. So it's a big slaughter fest, essentially. The death toll runs high in this game, and it does get a little repetitive when some missions require you to just, you know, go here, kill everyone in the area, rinse and repeat, so on and so forth. Some people find that repetitiveness, you know, like dull and like everything, some people, I've heard people complain about this game, saying that it's dull and repetitive nature, and I'm like, well, yeah, there's only so many things you can do in a first-person shooter. You can't, this isn't a puzzle-solving game. It's a first-person shooter. Yes, it's an action shooter, but it's still a first-person shooter. So the repetitive nature of slaughtering countless enemies never really got to me. I enjoyed the game, I enjoyed the overall premise, and it was a nice, refreshing change of pace. I didn't have to save the world from Nazis or communists or anything like that. Islamic terrorists, nothing like that. These were just right-wing radicals here in the United States, homegrown terrorism technically, and that's something that kind of hits home to me personally. Like, I understand, like, with today's politics and all that, religious radicals and stuff like that, and people, and right-wing Christians here in America, they get, like, kind of a bad rap, so this might hit home and be a little sensitive for some people, but I myself, I don't get upset or offended, and I didn't care who the enemies were, because they need to die regardless. Now, the 3 main lieutenants, Jacob, John, and Faith, all 3 of them are unique in their own regards in my opinions of them. The one I probably saw eye to eye the most with, even though I disagree with him, but the closest one that I could sympathize or at least understand the most would have to be Jacob. Just because Jacob believes in sacrificing the weak so that the strong may survive, which is actually something that is very understandable. He operates under the philosophy of a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and you cull the herd, essentially. That's what he called it. He was culling the herd, killing the weak off so that they wouldn't bring down the rest of the group. He didn't want the chain to break when it was put under stress. And as I said earlier, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And Jacob understood that and acted with that incentive of strengthening the overall group and presence by culling the herd. That's kind of the philosophy he operates under. John, on the other hand, is someone who I really understood. I understood his character and his motivations, but I just could not connect with him. But he was batshit insane. He would carve a sin into your flesh. He would carve like wrath or lust or greed or envy. He would carve those sins into your flesh with a knife, which would hurt a lot. And then he would take that very same knife and circle around the sin, circle around the word he just carved into you, and dig deeper and pull a chunk, that chunk of your body with that chunk of flesh with the word on it, and rip it off of you. So he would leave a gaping wound in your body just to hold a fresh piece of your flesh in his hand and nail it to the wall, saying that you have been absolved of your sin. So he would carve a word into you, he would carve a sin into you, then carve that entire chunk of flesh out of you to absolve you and save you. Like, he was fucking insane. If I've never met anyone like that in real life, and I wouldn't fucking want to. Faith was probably my least interesting character, probably because I just understood her character of being the illusionist, the mysterious person who doesn't fight directly. She doesn't wield guns, she doesn't punch you or get physical. She's more of the illusionist trickster. And like any illusionist trickster character concept, you break the illusion, you break the enemy. And that's kind of like what it is with her. She's mostly annoying. Whenever you're in her territory and she just randomly appears, an illusion of her appears, you just you walk through her, you ignore her. Every now and then an enemy will appear in her place after her spirit vanishes. But for the most part, she was just kind of annoying. There are a variety of side characters and allies acting as NPCs that you can recruit to and aid you in multiple ways. Basically, there are these guns for hire characters where you can run around, interact with characters, fulfill a certain quest, like saving them from being in danger, rescuing them, or, that's pretty much how you meet them. You have to rescue them. They're in some sort of peril that they need you to fulfill a mission request for them. You do that, and they're like, okay, sweet, thanks for helping me out. Now I'll help you out whenever you got it. And then you can equip them, essentially, in one of your inventory slots to make them follow you around and follow orders and fight enemies with you. And it's like fighting with a friend. However, their AI isn't as smart, but you can designate targets for them. If you aim in the general, if you aim at an enemy and press the left or right button on the D-pad, depending upon which D-pad slot that character currently resides in, you can tell them to target that enemy. So if you want them to target a heavily armored character, you can do that. Have them target an animal, have them target a bear. You can have them target anything that you can normally kill. Or even inanimate objects, such as alarm systems. So you can have them do that. However, their AI, they don't behave the smartest, even though you do control them. And if you haven't tasked them, they'll kind of follow you around and just engage enemies kind of randomly. And every now and then, one of them will do something really fucking stupid. But for the most part, they're actually not too bad. They're not too much. They're definitely more of a help than a hindrance. And I appreciate the fact that there's a variety of them. You even recruit a couple animals. You can recruit a dog, a mountain lion, or even a grizzly bear. And they're all useful. Every single one of them doesn't just have a gun or just run around and maul you. They have certain secondary abilities and traits, like being able to remain, not be detected by enemy animals, or being able to do bombing strafe runs. They're pretty nice, actually. They have a wide variety of abilities. Some you gravitate towards more than others, depending upon your playstyle. But for the most part, I like the stealth and sniper characters just because they could take out enemies that were trying to hide up, hole up from in a good distance and try and snipe me or shoot rockets. And, the bow and arrow girl, I forget her name, and former army soldier, Sniper Girl, you know, both of them were probably my most used characters, just because they were useful at just about any range. But, you know, I mean, if they get overwhelmed, they get overwhelmed. It's not like they're invincible, but they're good at, if you give them a target, they're good at taking that one target out, and I appreciate that. Now, when it comes to fighting, you know, as yourself and not using allies, there's a wide variety of weapons and vehicles at your disposal. There's pistols, submachine guns, shotguns, assault rifles, sniper rifles, rocket launchers, flamethrowers, and even melee weapons like brass knuckles, steel bats, and a shovel. So you can use whatever weapon you want to destroy and decimate your opponents in any fashion you want. Even there's a bow and arrow that uses incendiary or explosive rounds, so you can have a lot of fun, set everything on fire, and just go to town with whatever weapon of choice suits your fancy. The basic shot mechanic in the game lets you buy these weapons, and it also lets you refill ammunition, buy skins and stuff like that. And when you fulfill certain missions, you also earn these little skill points that you can use to purchase actual skills and abilities to increase your arsenal of weapons and unique items and abilities to get around or fight enemies in a variety of ways. So it's important that you fulfill a lot of side quests and try and improve your character and make them as strong as possible, just so that it's easier, so that you can reload weapons faster, swap them out sooner, that you can hold more ammunition, and so on and so forth. So pretty much, you know, there's a lot to do in this game, and there's a lot to go around doing in terms of, like, you know, side quests and missions and stuff like that. Some missions are a little ridiculous. A lot of them have to do with you going to a certain area, killing everyone there, and then maybe retrieving an item and then bringing it back. Some are just pure fetch quests, like getting all the collectibles, like baseball trading cards, or cheeseburger bobbleheads, or stuff like that. So there's a lot of items. It's not all just, you know, killing stuff. You can drive around and go through, like, obstacle courses and follow a route and try and beat a certain time attack in time trial in order to fulfill a quest to get points and stuff like that. I got the Platinum Trophy in this game, so I did everything to fulfill the requirements for the Platinum Trophy, and I gotta say, this wasn't too hard of a Platinum Trophy, but there are some things that are a little confusing or difficult to understand. But for the most part, this game has a lot to offer, and it is a lot of fun. Now, visually, this game is pretty damn good. The open world is not shy about revealing itself, and when you get to certain high elevations, it actually you can just see so much. Like, you can see like 4,000 feet or meters, whatever the metric is. You can see like 4,000 feet in the distance, and you'll be like, okay, I gotta go over there. And it takes you a while to go from one corner of the map to the other. It takes a fucking while, especially if you're on foot. Even driving a car or flying in a helicopter or a plane, it takes a good while. This map is absolutely huge. And the fact that you can go from territory to territory, you don't have to defeat any of the bosses, any of Joseph's lieutenants. You don't have to beat them in any specific order. You can you know, do a lot of stuff in Jacob's area. Then just be like, you know what? I don't want to beat Jacob just yet. I'll go over to Faith's territory and, you know, wreck all her shit. You can do that. You don't have to, you know, you're not restricted in what you want to do, what order you want to do it, how you want to go about accomplishing it. This game really is open-ended in terms of exploration, what you want to prioritize, how you want to go about doing things, what weapons you want to use, and so on and so forth. This game has a lot to offer, and the open world map is absolutely huge and gorgeous to look at. The soundtrack, kind of forgettable. If you fast travel from one area to the other, which you can only fast travel from what I know from certain areas that you've already been, you can't fast travel anywhere. But if you've already been to a certain location, like a hotel or a bunker or anything, you can fast travel there. And when you're fast traveling, you're given a little bit of a screensaver shot where it'll show the chief lieutenant of that region you're in and one of their lines of dialogue. You'll see that a lot. And each lieutenant has its own little theme song playing, and they have certain lines that repeat over and over and over that you read. The soundtrack is kind of forgettable. I never really got into the soundtrack all that much, I'm not gonna lie. The music is forgettable. But visually, this game is spectacular. Alright, so last thing I want to touch on is just my overall opinion and some, some complaints I have, not just about the game. So my overall opinion of this game is I think it's a solid game. I went into it with average expectations, not playing a Far Cry game before. I heard it was that the Far Cry games are usually good. So I went into this with average expectations of I expect this to be a good game and to have fun. And I did. I had a lot of fun. There were a lot of fun, quirky moments. The boss battles weren't all that great or enthusiastic. The final fight you have with Joseph is pretty interesting. But the Jacob boss fight wasn't as nice as I would have liked it. It felt more like I had to do a little side quest, before I could actually deal with actually shooting at Jacob. John and Faith's, they were pretty standard from what I expected. I didn't expect the plane mechanic to be in John's, boss fight. The Faith battle, I literally went as I expected. I have to fight a bunch of illusions of her and kill her real body. I literally did not expect anything different, and it didn't wow me. It didn't disappoint, but it didn't wow me either way. But this game is still pretty fun. I hear a lot of people complaining about how this game really dropped the ball on being able to comment on socio-political issues in our country, in America, and I'm like, I don't give a shit about that. I play games because they're not real. I don't want a game commenting on real-world politics. Like, I don't want a game to talk, all of a sudden have characters talk to me like they're Bernie Sanders or Ted Cruz. I don't want a rehash of the 2016 election. I want a fucking video game that I can enjoy, that I can just go into, hear some fun lines of dialogue here and there, have some fun, and enjoy myself. And the fact that this game has a little bit of a political overtone to it, but it's not too political and it's not in your face about all the problems that some people have. Some people say, like, they could have commented more on the drug problem, the drug epidemic, opioid epidemic, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I don't care about that shit. I play these games because they're not me. Think about it for a second. You're running around killing hundreds of people. When are you going to do that in real life and not feel bad about it? Unless you're just as sadistic as the villains in this game, if you ran around and set people on fire, blew things up, murdered animals left, right, and center, and did all the crazy shit in this game that your character does, if you did all that in real life, you'd feel like a fucking monster. Because at the end of the game, Joseph kind of hits you with that. He pretty much, he reminds you of all the sins and atrocities you've committed just to stop him. And it kind of made me wonder, I'm like, holy shit, how many injustices did I commit in the name of justice? In the name of doing what is right, how many wrongs did I do? And I like that. At the end, it kind of gets you to reflect just a little, but it doesn't cram it down your throat. Because you're the good guy, you're playing the good guy. This game is more straightforward and simple than real life. I don't want to play a video game that makes me simulate my real life. My real life is my real life. If I want real-world politics, I'll go engage in real-world politics. But these video games are my escape. I like to play these games and have fun and not be reminded of real-world politics. If you want to throw in a small jab here or there, like there was some guy who said, "Make Hope County great again." That was fun, or Obama loving libtards. I'm like, if you tone it down to that and you don't take it further than that, we're fine. I don't care. I don't give a shit about that. There was a line of dialogue that made me bust a gut laughing, talking about, someone chimed in over the radio, said, "Hey there, Rook, you're doing amazing." They're talking to you after you did a good job on a mission or a side quest, and they're like, "Hey, you did amazing. This other guy better watch out. His ego will be more deflated than a Patriots football." That made me bust out loud laughing. I enjoyed that. I was like, oh shit, I was not expecting that. And it was a small, cheap jab. It was lighthearted. It was fun. It hit home for what it was worth, which wasn't much, and that's good. I enjoy that. I even told that joke to my friends who I was in the PlayStation chat room with, and I told them that they started laughing too. One of them even responded back, "I'm a Patriots fan and I enjoyed that. That's funny, I'm a Patriots fan and I even found that funny." And I'm like, yeah, this game shouldn't be taking itself too seriously. I like games that don't take itself too seriously, and this game shouldn't. It has a serious tone in terms of the mood that it sets, but from then on out, it's ridiculous. I mean, come on, you're running people over with tractors and trucks. You're not, unless, like I said earlier, unless you're one of the most diabolic monsters in the world in real life, you're not going to be doing shit like that in real life. So it's okay to let loose, have fun, and enjoy this game. This is a good game. But I don't want it to be a simulation of the real world. If I want real world politics, I'll engage in real world politics. But for what it's worth, I enjoyed this game. So my overall review of this game is a solid 8 out of 10. There were a few issues I had with some of the bosses in terms of the fights being not as exciting, and there is a little bit of repetition with running around killing people left, right, and center. And there are some glitches and bugs that I found where one time I spawned in the middle of a rock and I literally had to stop and reload and respawn right there, and I was like, okay, I'm free now. But for the most part, this game was solid, fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I strongly recommend it. I think this game has at least a good chance of being nominated for Game of the Year, or maybe shooter. You know, a first-person Game of the Year. But that's going to do it for my rad review of Far Cry 5. I thank you all for watching. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned for more. I do more videos like that. I'm also doing more rad reviews on other games, as well as I intend to be branching out, and me and one of my friends, Axel Reaper, he and I are going to be doing a review on some anime series that we've had our eyes on, and we decided to branch out and have some fun and talk about certain anime series that we like, and we wanted to give our opinions on that. So if you like anime and video games, perfect. Subscribe, stay tuned for more, and look forward to more content. Thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Comment down below on what you like, on any improvements or suggestions you think I could make. I'm open to all suggestions. I want to tailor myself and my material and content to suit you guys who are watching this video. And once again, I thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys all later.